set of games will be GG versus Metro. We saw Metro play yesterday. Unfortunately, didn't do too well against Origin, but hopefully this is going to be a closer set, and I hope to see if, Metro can pull off their first victory in top 8. And then for the second set of games that we're going to watch tonight, it's going to be probably the biggest clash, at least in the round robin for the top 8 stage. We're going to watch OBLVN versus Origin. I think this is probably going to be like the number 1 team versus number 2 team, and whether I had to rank them, I'm honestly not too sure, because like despite OBLVN having, rocking their competitive roster, I feel like Origin's roster, despite it having a couple of, not a couple of the players that they don't really run with for the like actual competitive seasons. Like there's a couple of names in here that are not like the actual comp roster. Maybe like this Critton guy. I don't know who this Apple Silicon guy is, but he doesn't seem familiar. And Mirko. Everybody else, with the exception of Yara, who is a Joker player, everybody else is like an Origin comp player. So, anyways, back to what I was saying. Despite the differences in the rosters, like one being like kind of like a hubby / comp roster versus the other being a comp roster, let's say Origins is still playing at like a very high level. So I think I'm not gonna make any predictions on who's gonna win this set. We're just gonna have to see, which team plays better during the actual set of games. Now, in the meantime, Room invite is up, and fortunately, I'm sorry, Lime, but I have to deny that platoon request. So, in the meantime, let me just make sure that my stream is fine. I'm gonna pull it up on my phone. And I guess maybe before I forget, I should probably introduce these teams. So, I'll introduce the teams we're going to watch tonight. Metro, we have Misty the captain. We have Junior, Crody, Zio, Fle, Chemo, Apple, NTG, Watachu, and Hoax Negative. And then on GG's side, so for GG we have Team Captain Power, we have Exovert, we have Zay, we have Like High, we have Danny Bop, we got Hanzo Main, Tyrannos, Collateral, Nib, I'm not sure who that is, and then Tantan Too Strong. And then for the second set of teams that we're gonna watch, I guess I can introduce Origin. Maybe I introduced them already last stream. We got Cora the captain, we got Critton, Apple, different Apple from the I think it's Metro Apple. We got Yarrow, longtime teammate of mine, very good player. We got High, Archangel, Rob. We have Criminal. This is Criminal, and he's an EU player. We have Rondelidia, who is Muxvi, and we have Mirko. And then for Oblivion, this is a team I'm very familiar with. I used to be their caller for a short while. We have Team Captain Ranger, Even Steven, Coffee Loopy, Mystickler, Gruxup, Brax, Akame, Dizzy, a Gentleman, and N13. So, in the meantime, we got about a minute 40 left until the game start, and looks like Metra's in the room, but is GG like trolling or something, or are they just not gonna show up? Are they still scrimming? I want to open up the training rooms, the list of training rooms, just to check if maybe like GG has a room up. Maybe they're like scrimming or testing out a strategy. But also there are some atrocious things in the training room, like names. So I guess it won't hurt to peek really quickly. Okay, it looks like it looks like GG and Apex are scrimming. So a weird bug where you can like kind of see like inside the rooms, but it looks like that they're scrimming Apex, trying to warm each other up. They'll typically have and they're in the room now. Okay, so will typically happen, especially for these top 8, top 4 tournaments, is teams will try to scrim each other to just warm each other up, make sure that, you know, both teams are ready to face whoever they're facing. And obviously, if you're going to, like, say, if GG is going to, like, play Metro as they are right now, they're obviously not going to scrim Metro. They're going to scrim, like, a different team in, a different, ideally at a different bracket. So, Apex, who is Apex facing? We saw Apex yesterday. They unfortunately, lost to 7 Rats. Let's see Apex's matchup before this disappears. Oh, they're facing Rejects. Okay. I think Apex should win that matchup against Rejects. Anyways, we are going to be on Rockfield. This is a pretty good comp map, I'd say. A lot of interesting opportunities for boosts. Maybe we could see one potentially in this set. So I'm going to fly high really quick. We see that GG, they're running 1 light tank, while on the side of Metro, they're actually running 0 mobility, 0 vision. So this light tank is going to be very powerful on Rockfield, especially since the map is quite large. He's going to be able to leverage his mobility, his vision, in order to get a lot of really good information for his team. And it looks like I Need Not Chemo is actually in the TD position, which is very good for Metro. Metro could actually potentially catch out this light tank if they... Oh, looks like Laikai, he takes 1 shot from NTG, but it looks like the Vickers is just completely unspotted right now. He's able to cap the base. I Need Not Chemo did not even bother trying to peek for a reset, which I thought was quite odd. We see the Vickers Light is trying to go for a couple of reset shots on the A cap. Look, going for the HE, he knows where the 116 is, but unfortunately just not able to really connect. And the Light Tank able to just kind of run out completely unspotted despite shooting at the balcony on top of the C cap. So, bit interesting. Maybe he's running like Camonet or something. I would have expected for him to be spotted at least there, but I guess not. So, in terms of caps, GG, they're up on caps. They're up about 25 points, which is within a single kill in terms of a differential. And Exovert puts a really well-placed shot into the side of Crody. Crody kind of like probing to see if maybe a B step was possible, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, especially considering that GG has rotated through their spawn. They're moving Tantan too strong to be in a position to oppose Crody, and Power is going to be in a very powerful position to suppress Crody as well if Crody does decide to take this peek. So, just looking down this lane, if Crody just makes a mistake of stepping into B when it does look like he's in the position he wants to do it, if Tantan gets some timing or if Power decides to peek, Crody is going to be surprised by just triple clippers, and it does look like Power gets to peek off, which is really good for the side of GG, but unfortunately, the Felice just having so much armor that Crody is able to get out of there completely unscathed. And we do see GG are trying to make a bit of potentially a probing maneuver where they're just trying to see what Metro has on the A side, but they don't need to do anything. They are the ones who are up on caps. So I feel like this maneuver is a potential... It's like a strange play, considering that you could be dangling some kills for Metro, but I'm not sure if Metro are really keen on wanting to push past A, go into this like bit of a hole. And we do see Misty putting in a decent 2 shots into Power, but he's getting completely clipped out by Exovert. Exovert doing a great job using his position, just punishing Misty for over peaking on Power. And it does look like now that Misty has bled down quite a bit. If GG want to be aggressive, they could maybe rotate 1 more tank up top, and then they could potentially just go for the quick kill on Misty, just drive up behind his rear on the A side, and then just absolutely bomb him to death. But it looks like they're trying to play for, I think, 2 things at once right now. So they're like anticipating maybe like a play on A and also a play on B, considering that we see Laikai and Tantan just sitting like down by the B cap in that lane down there. And this Vickers, he's just chilling, just kind of just spawning the entirety of Seaside. So I feel like in terms of the tank distributions, GG, they're a lot more consolidated. They have, I'd say, a better understanding of their game plan. While Metro, they're they're still waiting, and it does look like we do see a bit of a tank rotation in terms of just swapping HP, and Watachu actually makes contacts with Zay, so it looks like GG, they know that Watachu's there. I'm not sure if they know about Misty backing out or not. I wasn't paying attention to see whether he was spotted on his back out attempt. So if GG decide to pressure up on A, they're going to be, I'd say, surprised quite significantly to see a full HP Metro tank, Metro 116 here. And we do see the C step by NTG. NTG just going to try to delay the cap just long enough such that GG are able to, or sorry, just enough such that Metro are able to get the cap lead from GG. And it looks like Zay, he tried to go for the play exactly as I was saying, but he just got completely bamboozled. There was not a half HP 116 here. There was a full HP 116, and Fled is still alive. All he has to do is just try to back up, try to buy enough time. Watachu needs to do a good job at trying to HP share. Unfortunately, Laikai does pick the kill, but Collateral is going to fall very shortly, and I Need Not Chemo has a, 2/3 of his clip ready for Laikai. If Crody can put in a shot as well, Laikai is dead, and this is going to be game 1 for Metro. And I really like the play that Metro made where they recognize, okay, Misty, he's like the furthest up, he's probably the most in danger, let's back him out real quick. And then I feel like on the other side of things, just the one Kron playing alone, I thought that was pretty cool where he was just like playing with balls, but I do feel like he was like heavily overextended. I feel like GG were banking too much on like the anticipation of like a B step that they kind of just ignored C. And I would say like if you see like a Kron, he was being spotted by the Vickers, like iNib, he was spotting which Kron was it? It was, I think it was NTG, who was just alone on the C side. He spotted NTG playing very, very aggressive. I feel like if GG were playing a bit more flexible, maybe a little bit faster, they could have just done a C rotate and just punished them, because why would Metro give up their A hold to try to push past A? And if they do, then they're just kind of like selling the game in a sense. So I feel like GG could have played a bit smarter. They could have been like, okay, if Metro tries to push out of their holding positions, we should just be able to crossfire them to death on A. Why don't we just rotate, play for a kill on C, and then Metro is effectively screwed? So I feel like GG was just playing a bit too rigid, a bit too, I guess, textbook in terms of maybe this was like their strat, maybe this is like a pre-planned rotation, this is their pre-planned play. They just didn't really anticipate the C grab from Metro, and then Metro did a really good job of, again, swapping out Misty for the full HP 116, I think it was Fled. And even though Fled did die eventually, he survived for quite a long time. If Misty were still in that position that he was originally at on the A cap, I think GG probably would have been potentially winning that game. I'm not too sure, but it definitely would have, changed the rate of the brawl, because GG would have been up a tank much faster than what actually occurred in the game. So let's go game 2. So we're gonna see once again the Vickers being played by iNib, and then we do see a mobility element being picked up by Metro. So Watachu into RHM is gonna go towards the C base for potentially a quick spotting. And we see iNib going to the opposite side of the map, so the Vickers is probably going to be able to light up a lot more of the Metro team than Watachu is going to be able to light up of the GG team. And we do see Watachu immediately stepping into the C base, playing a bit with balls, and the timing actually did work out very well, because iNib didn't really spot too much on the side of Metro, and now he is just now going to step into A. He could potentially get hit by Watachu if Watachu decides to potentially peek for a reset. Does Watachu peek for the reset? No, he is not peeking for a reset. I would have actually tried to maybe look for the reset on the Vickers. And I'm wondering, and I really like the pathing that Laikai is taking, where he's going to the far red line. We see Exovert does get spotted by the RHM, so taking that red line, going a bit longer, is always good. And GG is running a bit of a bait where they just have a lot of tanks just like chilling in the just right behind C, and what they're going to do is they're just going to immediately re-push C. And I'm not sure if Metro, like, if they smell this, like, trap kind of, because they got a lot of really good bleeds into Exvert. Exvert kind of getting, you know, lit up by Light Tank and just getting punished for being in the position that he was. He took a lot of shells from NTG, and actually, I would say that Metro, they're not ready for this. They don't have vision at all of this like triple stack or this quadruple stack, I must say, that GG has set up in their spawn. But iNib is going to get proxy spot. Oh, he does get spotted by the heavy in the far corner. He proxy spots the Light Tank, and I wonder if the Metro team are going to act on this, and we see the speed boost. The GG tanks are going to be moving into position now. Flea is probably going to be the kill target, and if not Flea, they're going to try to pre-aim the Light Tank and just bomb the Light Tank out of existence. So they are going to go for the Light Tank, but Power is going to get shot up just a little bit. And Watachu is getting completely bombed. He is getting absolutely crossfired to death, Hanton, with shots on him as well. That is one free pickup for GG. GG, they have the initiative. They have 3 tanks going to push onto Flea, who is going to shortly die to these triple clippers. And these 2 Metro tanks on the C side, they need to get out. They need to back out. And we do see a bit of counterplay on the side of Metro, where they're grabbing effectively all 3 caps. And I like this cap play, but I'm not sure if that's gonna like net them the win at the end of the day, because they've lost effectively 2 tanks for free on C. They need to try to play for not just caps but also kills as well, try to equalize the gun disadvantage. And we do see a bit of counterplay, but I just think it's over for Metro. They're fighting 7v5 effectively. The Light Tank overstayed far too long on C side, wasn't really being effective with his vision. He just kind of sat in the same spot the entirety of the game. And we do see Misty getting crossfire. Very good focus fire discipline from the GG tanks. Instead of shooting the tanks in front of them, they decide to try to help the brawl on the other side that was kind of being lost in a sense. So very good focus fire discipline, but this is an absolute steamroll. Despite the HP being very close, look at how many GG tanks are left alive. They're 6 versus 2 now, and Crody is probably going to be Crody and Chemo are probably going to be able to pick up power, but it doesn't really matter. GG, all they have to do is just send their tanks who have HP and like shots in, and these things are dead. And Power is able to actually just completely back down, and he's going to be fine. He does fluff up the shot. I Need Not Chemo is trying to jump on him. Not sure if he's going to be able to. He completely misses. That is a bit embarrassing, but that's okay. GG with a very good game plan in terms of like setting up the stack like right behind C. And then the Light Tank on Metro, again, just overstaying his welcome, really. Like, sure, he was able to nuke out Exovert, but after that, you gotta move. You cannot be playing, especially that far up in your Light Tank. It's on Rockfield, it's a lot better to kind of like move your vision around, just try to see like what you can like kind of scout out in your Light Tank rather than just stay in one position. If you're gonna stay in one position on like as a Light Tank, you just might as well just boost at that point. Like, and the boost on the south spawn of Rockfield. Actually, wait, Rockfield. Is it the south spawn of Rockfield? No, the north spawn of Rockfield. Yeah, Metro is on north spawn. Sorry. So the boost on the north spawn of Rockfield is actually doable by yourself. So if instead of waiting or sitting on like the C base or not C base, well, I guess the C base, he was just sitting in that general area. The Light Tank could have just self boosted himself, and that actually would have been and it probably wouldn't have done too much in terms of like countering the sea brawl, just because the boost on the north spawn of Rockfield is a lot worse than the boost on the south spawn. The boost on the south spawn, you will just deny pretty much any play on C, I'd say. So we're gonna see a couple of tank selections being moved around. Score is 1-1, which is nice. I think both these teams are kind of maybe GG is playing a bit stronger than Metro, I'd say, just off of like the last game that I saw. But I'd say this is a much better matchup than what we've like seen, at least so far in the top 8. They've typically been like 4-0 or 4-1, like, you know, like rolls. So I hope that this set is back and forth, and I hope to see hopefully a game 7. Alright, so we got Naval Frontier. This is a pretty good comp map. There's a lot of options that you can do. A lot of interesting pushes, a lot of interesting strategies you could run. And we're going to see probably both teams potentially meet each other on the A side. We have what it looks like 4 tanks on the side of Metro driving towards A, light tank, and actually it's going to be 3 tanks. So we're going to see a light tank and 116 and a Kron drive towards the A side, and just look like with the timing, this the GG tanks that are going to A are not going to be spun until they're, already committed, and it does look like the T100 is able to step into the A base, but I'm not too sure if, he wants to stay there, but considering that Power is going to be just driving up, trying to, play to just shoot him out. But it looks like the light tank is getting okay support in terms of the heavy tanks that are positioned behind him. So we see Misty holding the red line angle, doing a good job at trying to suppress Power. But Zay has really good crossfire if Misty is going to try to peek to try to go for a suppressing shot on fire. Or not fire, on Power. So light tank is fortunately able to get out, but I feel like this is a bit dangerous, but not necessarily, just because GG, they have the potential to just over push on A, just send it for Misty, which this tank in this corner, it doesn't seem, like a very smart idea to push him, considering he's like very far out. There's a lot of crossfire to be had if you do commit to the push, but it is a push that is possible. And if Metro does, or sorry, not Metro, if GG does a good job with just lighting up and counting tanks, they could potentially see his play, because they already have 2 tanks in position on the wide angle, ready to just, swing Misty and effectively just like 2v1 him and potentially just get him out of the game. And he is bleeding a couple of shots to Zay. Zay looks like he's moving up towards A, as well as Tantan. And it does look like they're going to be making this play, as over push on A, as I was talking about earlier. And if they're not going to make this play on A, what they're probably going to do is try to force and shove onto A, grab the base. And I'm not sure if Metro are going to be able to reset this. It's just going to be a light tank who does put a very good shot into Zay. And we do see the over push go in on the side of GG. Misty is going to be in a lot of trouble right now. He needs to try to do his best to at least put in his entire clip's worth of damage before he dies. He does put a very good track shot to collateral, which makes him mess up his first shot, which is really good. Misty doing a good job. He's able to put in his full clip. Hanzo main trying to go for the peak now to try and get the kill. And Misty is dead. I Need Not Chemo is getting completely bombed right now. Very good crossfire from the side of GG. Just all these tanks being able to put in their shots and just be very effective. And this is going to be a GG win. It is 7v5, and it looks like GG have already kind of lined up their next target, which is Crody, whose rear is just completely exposed to them. Crody getting shot up the rear as he's trying to escape. Very unfortunate timing there. And on the other side of things, we see NTG and Laikai going for a 1v1, which doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because even if NTG is able to win that, that's not going to win Metro the game. So Brody getting pressured by the double Krons, Power and Zay, and this is not looking good at all for Metro. GG just, they have their 5,000 HP up, they're 6v4, and slowly but surely, GG is just going to want to kill this light tank, 2 potentially step on C, grab triple cap, and 3 just kill every tank on the board. So it's just a matter of time. And NTG does have a very nice position, but nothing. There's really nothing he can do unless he gets like 4 ammo racks or something. That's the only way to like potentially win. I feel like the light tank driving immediately towards A was just a very weird choice in my opinion. Why not spot for your team first before you play for a cap? And if you're going to be playing like for the C cap, right? You have to cover your tank on A. If you're playing a bait tank on A, you can't just abandon him like that. You have to do a better job at covering him. And unfortunately, they just didn't really do that. Nib getting the final kill. So well played to GG. But I will say that I think Metro just blundered significantly in terms of their setup. Like, why play if you're going to try to force A? You should play more tanks towards A, right? Because the one thing that GG did really well with is that Power was able to just get to a really advanced position relatively unpunished, and just forced the light tank to try to run away. And the light tank had to run away because he doesn't want to fight a Kron, especially, a Kron that can just, like, be hold down, just, like, peek him. And if the light tank, tries to stay, he's going to get pre-aimed, he's gonna get bombed to death like he did on Rockfield, so he had to leave. And as soon as he left, the other Metro tanks also left. Like, there was, like, there was supposed to be, like, a tank on the balcony, but he ran away for some reason. And I think he did drive back at some point to try to, like, support the tank being pushed into corner, Misty, but it was too little too late. You either, like, hard commit to, or not hard commit, you just do a stronger setup, and then cap C, probably, like, you do like a 5-2 split is what I'm trying to say, where you have like two tanks, either one playing in middle and then the other playing on top of C, or one playing on top of C, like the very top, not like on the C cap, like the very top, kind of like ramparts kind of area. But you either play the very top of C and you have like the light tank step C in order to cap it. But I feel like the GG or not the GG setup, the Metro setup was just strange. Very poor allocation of their tanks. And GG, they punished it immediately. All right, game. Is it game 4? Yeah, it's game 4. So 2-1 lead for GG, and we're gonna see GG actually playing a bit stronger towards like the top of C side. And I think what they're trying to do is they're going to try to step C with what what on earth? Okay. So what they're trying to do is try to spot like a heavy, like driving down this lane using the Vickers on top of this hill, and then try to just bomb them like from spawn with these Krons, which I don't think that's worth like even pre-aiming down as like say like a cool strat idea. But we do see a lot of interesting shootout going on, not necessarily like with the like spawn shootout, but from Hanzo main putting basically a full clip into Flash. So well played from Hanzo. But and we see this crazy setup from the GG spawn, just completely bombing Watachu, just completely getting bombed to death. He is gone. Double Kron just putting in a massive double clip into him, and they depend all their shots, and he is gone. And Hanzo main is going to be in focus fire by Crody, as well as potentially, let's see, okay, it's just Crody trying to pressure Hanzo main to try to potentially tank trade, but it's not going to be enough. Crody is eventually going to get peeked on by Tantan, and he is getting repushed right now. Laikai, Tantan, whip clips, ready to just shoot him out, but Metro, I think they already lost this game. Metro are down 3,000 HP. Fle is dead. It is 75. Crody is going to die very soon. And Hanzo, despite being on a one-shot, he is just going to stay alive in this pocket. It is not worth for Metro to try to drop down and kill him. He is just safe there. And GG, they're up in the ascendancy despite the HP being very like close, about 2,000 or less than 2,000 HP like within each other. We see a 2v1 on the other side of things. We see Zay and we see iNib go for the isolation on the Kronvang. iNib Kimo is shortly going to die there. And all GG has to do is just reload their shells, try to slowly improve their position, and then go for the push. And we see NTG. He is probably going to go for the kill on Hanzo main, but I feel like Hanzo main is going to at least be able to put in one shot. He's probably going to be able to put in a second shot, actually. NTG bounces and kill, and Hanzo main is able to stay alive. What? Metro are in shambles right now. Absolute shambles. That's not the first time we've seen a Metro tank bounce a kill shot on a one-shot. Twice in a row, actually, I might add. So, Metro, y'all, this is your first top 8 appearance, but y'all got to lock in with the shot penning. Penning shots is a lot more important than you might think. It's always better to spend an extra second or two just like aiming in the shot, or just load gold, save your save the times needed to aim, than it is to just try to rush the shot because oh, I need to get this kill before this guy's able to put in the shot. No, you have to guarantee the shot first. So GG with a very dominant performance, 3-1 lead for them, and I think GG is just going to take the set. Metro are just in shambles, really. Watachu driving onto the A cap, not really anticipating a setup for, an A nuke, but I would argue that those positions that GG took with the Kronvongs to punish A, those are very well known. Those have been played many times before, and I feel like Watachu, this guy, he has experience, right? I think he's an LF player. Yeah, he's an LF player, so he's played at the top 4 level before, and unfortunately, I guess he forgot or something? I'm not sure. Or maybe he just wasn't expecting it at all, which, is understandable. But either way, it seems like Metro is just playing right into GG's hands. GG's like, the only game they lost against GG, Metro did not play into GG's, like, setup. So that was, like, the very first Rockfield game where GG, they were prepared for, a play on A, a play on B, but Metro played C instead. But then every other game, Metro has been playing into GG's hands. They basically, they sacked 2 tanks on C cap of the second Rockfield game, which was, a consequence of GG's C bait strategy, or not bait strategy, like the C stack strategy where they're just hiding and waiting to repush. And then the first naval game, they had a very strong setup to push on A side. They had an overmatch on the wide angle, like from the get-go, and they were itching to push. And eventually just went ahead and just pushed. And then the third game, or sorry, not the third game, the second naval game, they had a massive, like, shootout ready for A, and the Metro tank Watachu just drove straight onto A and just got bombed to oblivion. So I'm curious to see if Metro are gonna, like, lock in and, play a bit more methodical to try to break down, what GG is planning or plotting. But just off of, the bounce shots I'm seeing, the kind of, like, weird rotations, I don't know if they're gonna be able to beat GG. We do see GG, they're rocking a mouse. This is a very good tank for Dynasty's Pearl, and they do look like they're going to be driving towards A, as well as Metro, so we might be seeing an interesting A brawl between these two teams. But actually, never mind, it's just going to be a couple of tanks from Metro going towards A to try to maybe probe, get a bit of information. And they do spot Tantan into Felice, and they're putting down shots down the lane, while also sending the rest of their team towards the seaside. And I feel like if you are these Metro tanks, maybe at most you only need one guy to kind of spot down the lane. The other guy can just chill for a bit. And we do see early cap advantage probably go to Metro, just because the mouse is being suppressed a bit by the Felice. Mouse does put in a shot into Felice, which means that the mouse isn't able to continue to drive down the B lane and potentially put a reset into B, but that doesn't really matter because NTG was able to step outside of the base. Hanzo Main does try to put in a shot into Watachu, maybe try to suppress him down, back him up a bit, but he does bleed a shot. We do see Nib bleed another shot as well, and we do see the GG tanks are going to try to swing around this corner. They're very aggressive, and they smell blood in the water. If they send more tanks, they are just going to completely bomb these 2 tanks down this lane. And we do see all the tanks are spotted. Metro knows that the GG push is incoming, and they have to try to do their best to receive this. They need to try to reinforce this a little bit more. Try to bring some tanks to cover the back lane. Missy is going to back up into a bit of crossfire unless he tries to drive into this lane, which is a good diversion. But Missy is getting shot at by all the tanks on the GG side who went past and tried to ignored Chemo completely. Well played from the GG team for that play right there. That is a good focus fire discipline. And once again, we see ourselves in a 6v5 where GG have tank advantage, and Watachu is going to be next on the list. He's getting absolutely bullied by the mouse right now. The mouse, if he rolls a bit high enough, okay, never mind. 10-10 does pick up the kill, and again, more kills are being traded, but GG, they're just up a tank off of that one maneuver alone where they swung around the corner, ignored Chemo. They're still ignoring Chemo. He is still full HP, and they're just trying to bully the remaining Metro tanks. Metro just in complete shambles. They're trying to focus the mouse right now, and does the mouse die? The mouse does die, but at what cost? It is 4v3, this is not looking good at all. Kimo holding on his shots, trying to dump Laikai, but it's too little too late. Metro, unfortunately, playing a bit of a weird setup once again. I feel like if you're going to try to, like, hang a tank, or if you're trying to play, like, a tank to spot down this lane, that's cool and all at the start, but you don't need 2 tanks for that. And the fact that both tanks kind of backed up in the same direction, rather than maybe one of them backing out all the way to try to create a bit of crossfire, just to, like, dissuade GG from even committing to that push, because if Metro has set up, like, a much stronger crossfire, like, show that they have, like, presence in their spawn. Maybe GG, like, is a bit more hesitant to even make that push, which would give Metro a bit more time to try to reallocate tanks to support their isolated, tank in town a bit better. But again, GG, they smelled blood in the water, they took the push, and it worked out. It worked out pretty well for them, so, well played to GG's. Well, GG's to GG. Alright, yeah, that was a good warm-up set of games, at least for me to commentate on. I want to be in like peak condition for this Origin Oblivion set, which more than certain is going to be very competitive. So Misty, he got completely caught out on that game. So even though he did, I would argue, like the quote unquote correct play to try to back out and get into the other lane, I feel like maybe, well, actually, no. I disagree with what I just said. I feel like Misty should have just held his ground in his lane instead of backing up and trying to escape through the B lane. He should have just stayed in his lane, tried to do his best to HP share with, I think it was Chemo, while the rest of his team, they should have just diverted through B. Basically, take, or I think a strat sketch analysis would probably be better to discuss this. So I'm gonna whip that out. Let me find my strat sketch. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, here we are. So we are on Rockfield. Okay, I'm just gonna run through what happened. So it was one guy here, one guy here, two here, one guy here. This is 5, 6, 7, something like this. This is like the general GG setup. So initially they played for CCAP very aggressively with the Vigors just stepping onto the base immediately, and then he backed off. And then for the Metro setup, it was something like, if I remember correctly, maybe like a guy here. They had a guy here, they had a guy here, maybe a guy here. They had like 5 guys on the left side, so it was like a weird like 5-1-1 split, I think. So boom, boom. I don't remember where the other guys were, but it was something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, something like this. So game one, GG, they were anticipating like a B play, so they would hope that maybe like one Metro tank would try to step into B, which would then be immediately met by 2 tanks ready to kind of jump him. And that's a fine game plan, especially if you're up on caps on Rockfield. Typically, a very common play on Rockfield is if you're down on cap, why not just grab the B base? But Metro, they didn't play into that. They actually decided to go for a C stop, where this Kron was playing super aggressive. He was getting some decent info. He was getting himself spotted by his light tank, so he knew that at least one tank was here. But I feel like if GG weren't playing so rigid, just sticking to these kind of like pre-planned like strategies, I'd say like these are not like calls that are being made. Like I can tell these are not calls that are being made um uh as the game develops. These are like pre-planned strategies, like pre-planned rotations, pre-planned pushes, pre-planned setups. So GG, they've done a lot of their, a lot of the work, a lot of their like homework, especially in the training room. So they've kind of prepared themselves for like these kind of scenarios, but again, they're playing a bit rigid. I feel like in this very first game, if they just decided to rotate one tank towards C, they could have absolutely just butchered this guy on C because he had effectively no support. And even if he had some support, the way he was playing, I believe he was peeking this hill. This is 100% killable. It doesn't matter if there's tanks here, you can still punish it. You can just send it. You can rotate like another guy if you're like so terrified because realistically, right? Metro they have control of A. They got the A base. If they push past A, they're giving up their OP holding position. So why not just play, a tank back a bit, like a tank here, rotate a guy here, and if you're really scared, rotate another guy back, and then you can start, shuffling some tanks around just to improve your position a little bit. So you could do something like this. I think this would be pretty good in terms of um uh well, it's a bit passive, but if you're trying to make a play onto C, you don't really want to give them anything to bite on A. And if they do try to play for B, you could potentially like rotate this guy to play a bit more aggressive. I mean, I think it's fine probably to keep him down low. It's just that he's going to get shot from up top for sure, almost certainly if he's like, especially if he's peeking aggressively. So this guy has to be pretty smart in terms of how to play the position. But this is kind of like how like I would like set something up. And then let's go to game two. Game two, it was yeah, it was so light tank on the side of Metro, you had I think it was two crons here or something like that. And then I don't remember where the other tanks were, which is a little bit concerning. But anyways, GG, they had like a triple stack setup here. They had maybe like forget if they had a guy on TD, I think, who got bombed, but that wasn't really the main point of the game. And they had a light tank as well, so let me change this to a light tank. So game two, or yeah, game two. Light tank goes A, spots a couple of guys, but GG they have this massive spawn, like this massive spawn bait kind of, or just these four guys just stacked up, like chilling. And at some point, they were just like, okay, let's go, go, go. Or why is this not a curly arrow? So they decide, why is this not a curly arrow? Hello? Okay. So they decide to just go, 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 just bomb these guys. And oh, I do think there was a guy here, actually. Yeah, yeah, there was a guy here. So what happened is they go, 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 four tanks, push, push, push. Maybe there was a 15. Maybe the Vickers was with them. But what happened is the light tank overstayed his welcome, and he got bombed to death. Why is this arrow not red? Yeah, he got bombed to death. And oh yeah, there was an interesting crossfire position. I believe it was Tantan over here who was able to sneak in this shot, which I thought was pretty good. So GG, they did their homework in terms of getting the crossfire. Like they knew where to aim for the light tank, but also I feel like this is like the most obvious like position on the map to like punish just because of how elevated it is. You can pretty much aim at it from like honestly everywhere that isn't low ground. I would say like there's a couple of openings in the walls on top of like A side that you can kind of aim through, and then if you're like closer towards this wider opening, you just have three shots on this, and the light tank tried to escape by backing up over the top, but he just got completely bombed. I think the light tank was actually playing like this. Yeah, yeah, I remember now. So the light tank was playing like this. He kind of proxy spots the light, or yeah, the light tanks proxy spot each other, and then the Metro light tank just gets bombed to death, which was a little bit unfortunate, a little bit sad to watch. So after the light tank died, um, these tanks just immediately went for the pressure. Oh yeah, no, the Metro tank was in a deep corner, if I remember correctly. He's got pushed by three effectively, and Metro just lost two tanks. They had to fight 5v7, and they are not the level to win that. That's what I'll say. So that was game two for GG versus Metro. Game three and four? Yeah, I remember. Okay, so what happened is Metro sent one guy here, one guy here. They had a guy here and a light tank stepping A. And then I think they had maybe a guy up top here. One guy here. One, two, three, four, five, six. I forget where the last guy was. Let's say he's like sitting here. Seven, maybe? Not too sure. But what happens is GG, they had a much stronger A play or presence on A compared to um uh Metro. I feel like just with the timing, this Kron got to this position relatively unscathed, I must say. Like if the light tank was like maybe spotting this Kron, he could have probably put a shot in and maybe set up like a weird nuke with like a very fast heavy. They could have maybe tried to punish this crossing at the very least. And they would have gotten information on like how many heavy tanks are crossing towards A, and then they would have been able to play for the map. But immediately sending your light tank onto A, like sometimes it can work. It's just very risky, especially if you're playing something like this. Just very passive all around. Like if your light tank gets pressured, there's not much you can do to help them, I would say. And we did see that where Power in his Kron was able to just like drive up, kind of force the light tank to get off the cap right as Metro were about to cap the base. Light tank had to run away. I forget exactly where he ran off to. And a weird rotation that I saw from the Metro team is this guy ran away. The one guy who's playing like, kind of like the a key position because he's covering this dude and he's also covering this guy, right? Because this elevated position, you have a lot of vision on the wide lane, the wide angle, red line angle, and you also have a bit of, shots on this, so what's directly in front, and you can also cover and spot this angle. So you're kind of covering like the rear of this guy, you're covering the front of both of these guys. Like this is a very important position to hold, and the guy ran away. I don't know why he ran away, which is a bit weird. And I guess GG got really good timing, or I'm not sure if the Vickers who was playing in this position. Let me put down the rest of the Metro tanks if I remember them. There was a tank here. They had a heavy here. I think they had a heavy ratting back here and one guy up here. Yeah, so Metro, they were not Metro, GG, they were like already set up to just repush A. They pushed A, they got the kill, and somehow this guy, when he tried to back out, he was getting completely bombed to death, and I think it was from two tanks on top of A. And it was just wraps because once again, Metro just hanging two tanks effectively, and despite playing for the like kill over here, maybe it was like this 1v1 engagement or something like that, just was not enough. Like like Metro just consistently lost two tanks for free against GG. I think that's kind of like the summary of tonight's or the first set of games that we were watching tonight. So what happened on game two? Oh yeah, game two. So GG set up a crazy A nuke. I mean, I say crazy, but this has been played so many times, I'd say. It's like a bunch of guys just chilling here. They had a guy kind of playing here. This. I think there were crons, right? Somewhere. Forget if they're playing up or down. Let's say there's one up. Say, I don't remember where they were, but I did remember them trying to pre-aim some weird like spawn shootout. So like there is a very small angle that you have to try to shoot down this lane. Personally, I never really stared down the lane. I'll shoot it as a blind fire as I'm like driving either like through here or up. Like I'll blind fire down the lane, but I've never actually hit the shot ever in my career as a comp player. So the fact that they're trying to pre-aim down that lane, that's a bit that's some funny business going on there. That's some weird cooking going on. So, anyways, I digress. So, GG, they have a very strong A denial setup where they have a guy who can spot through here, and actually, from quite literally spawn, you can also shoot into the A cap like this. And the angle, actually, let me be a bit more exact with the angle. You can you can basically shoot as soon as like if a heavy tank drives in from, the left side of the cap on the strat sketch. So that is that is pretty interesting. Now, no, sorry, not interesting. I mean, I've already known this, but maybe it's interesting to you. And I think it was pretty interesting to watch actually because we saw Watachu drive in and just get completely blown up. Let me just change his icon. He just got blown up here, absolutely demolished. And um, so Watachu died. Who's the other tank who hung himself in this GG game? I forgot exactly, but I feel like Metro, they just instantly lost a tank. They had to fight a 6v7. And somewhere along the way, they bled a lot as well. I don't really remember too much about the last game that I literally just watched. Or sorry, the second to last game that I watched. Cause it was pretty painful, I'm not gonna lie. Which, it's okay, for Watachi, to kind of walk into those kind of nukes. It happens. You just gotta like learn from it, move on. Um Dynasty. So Dynasty, what happened on Dynasty? Hang on real quick. I'm going to quickly. Okay. Anyways, Dynasty. So again, we saw a weird play from Metro where they sent two tanks here like this. They try to spot down the lane and maybe put in shots, but I don't think you need two tanks for this. You only need one at most. And they were playing something like, think maybe like this? I'm not too sure. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Okay, I mean that's seven tanks. If I remember what GG did exactly. I'm just gonna draw like the um the critical portion of the game. So we see something like this. Maybe there's like a guy here or something. Open up an angle. I forget if it's like six guys like this or something, or maybe like this. But GG, they sent, I think it was three guys down this lane over here. Why is this not green? They had three guys. They had two guys here, or maybe this. And then I'm not sure where the last GG tank is. Maybe he was also swinging wide with the rest of the group, or maybe he was just like chilling in an intermediate position to kind of like support in the back. But I digress. The main action happened around this corner. So it was Misty who realized, okay, I need to try to back out and get safe, which is understandable because GG was going for a bit of a pincer maneuver where they're trying to pressure this lane from two fronts, or two sides. So why is this not green? Okay. So I think in this circumstance, actually, instead of backing out, and what happened was really smart from GG where they swung very wide and they didn't shoot the 116 who's here. I need not chemo. They decided to shoot Misty, who's like basically rear onto them at that point, and they were able to just get really good shots and just kill him immediately, delete him. And after that, they ignored chemo completely and just went for the rest of the tanks who tried to like push in to try to support Misty, try to keep him alive from what was like, at the time in front of him because he died facing towards the B lane. But it was just too little, too late, I'd say. GG, they made a really good push, good focus fire, or good target selection. So well played to those guys. And if I kind of reverse time here, if you're a Misty here, I wouldn't even try to back up because at this point, you should just recognize that both of you guys are dead in this, or at least one of you guys is gonna die in this circumstance. Instead of having all of you guys die, why not just buy a bit of time, try to hold your ground, and then what you can try to do is try to just pincer these tanks in the lane. And sure, one of them is a mouse, which is going to be, kind of hard to try to brawl, but it's a lot better than just completely giving up your tank for free. And I think they could have probably done this a bit better as well, just like from the start. I say quote unquote the start, just because at some point, these 2 tanks, they were in the same lane, right? They were just, like, spawning in the same spot, same exact spot. So, instead of doing that, they could have maybe 1 guy back up here, and then 1 guy back up here, so that way, if if the GG team does decide to, swing for the kill, this guy could just play very aggressive, get himself nuked on purpose, but just enough that he doesn't die necessarily. So make the GG tanks try to look for shots on this guy, like purposely bait out shots. And if they are unable to kill him, he stays alive and they won't have shots for this guy. And if they decide to go for this guy, well, this guy can just drive in and immediately have, a decent crossfire angle. He could even block the whole lane from the 3 tanks. And what could happen is if you just honestly, just commit all of your tanks in this lane, pre-aim, have this guy, like, maybe play, further back, make them try to over peek, and just pre-aim down the lane, just absolutely nuke the first guy you see, and then you can just re-push then. So, there's a lot of different ways that, Metro could have played this out, but I do feel like something that they're struggling with is just tank allocations. You don't need 2 tanks at the exact same position because 1, what are you accomplishing by having 2 tanks here while the rest of your team, or the majority of your team is playing towards the seaside, right? If you're gonna do like a split like this, you might as well just have a 5th tank to strong arm seaside. Something like this. Like this looks like a pretty like fine strat in my opinion. Nothing too out of the ordinary here, or maybe just to like, strengthen it a bit. Do something like you could try something like this probably, and that looks perfectly fine. Like getting putting 2 tanks here does absolutely like nothing because you get the same exact vision as you get with just 1 tank, and then 2, if enemy team decided to push, like, something as well is that these Metro tanks didn't spot the GG tanks on the far angle. And if these GG tanks just decide to keep going, they could have actually flanked, probably just completely flanked these Metro tanks before they have, the time to back up here. They would have probably been bamboozled from this corner or this street. So just some hypotheticals just thrown out, but overall, well played to GG. You guys have definitely done the work. You put in a lot of work in the training rooms, and it does show. So well played to you guys. And in Metro, y'all gotta get in the lab. Y'all gotta get some work in. So next set, we're gonna be watching um Origin versus Oblivion. So let me just quickly switch back to PC. And I do want to look through the current sets that have gone. So current sets. Looks like Seven Rats won their set. Who did they play? Did they play Origin? I think Seven Rats played Origin. Oh, they beat Origin. Oh my goodness, Seven Rats. This is really good for their top 4 chances because I was expecting Origin to just, beat Seven Rats, but Seven Rats beating Origin means that I'd say that as long as Seven Rats only, if Seven Rats loses to Oblivion, that's understandable. I think Seven Rats should be able to beat Rejects, who, okay, Rejects, they took 2 games off of Apex, so they're putting in a fight. So I do think Seven Rats should be able to beat Rejects, and then Seven Rats versus Oblivion. I'm more than certain Seven Rats are just going to get bombed by Oblivion. That might be like a 4-0 or a 4-1 victory for Oblivion. It's okay if they lose to Oblivion. They're definitely beating Metro just off of the gameplay that I'm seeing from Metro. And then against GG, this isn't going to be an interesting set to watch, actually. Seven Rats versus GG, just like off of the way that GG is playing, I think Seven Rats might have a tough fight against GG. So At most, I see 7 Rats losing 2 sets, which would probably put them in, I'd say, second place, which is interesting. Oblivion undefeated so far. Okay, Oblivion. Okay, Ranger. Okay, Ranger. I see. I see you, Ranger. You're making Papa proud. All right. So, we're gonna see a very battle-hardened Oblivion team go up against Origin. Is Origin gonna be able to take, or make Oblivion lose the first time they've ever lost, like a single battle in top 8? Who knows? But I'm excited for this. This is gonna be a really good matchup. All right. Just checking up on YouTube chat. FW Billy, Origin lost to 7 Rats. Yep, I just saw that. So I tried to not read my own chat just to not spoil myself. I think it makes it a bit more exciting for me. And reaction, hi Bob. Hello, reaction. Hello, hello. Glad to see you here. Glad to see you here. Are you playing this season by any chance, reaction? Are you online right now? Don't see you online. No. I'm trying to check my tournament history so I can find your account. Are you playing on a team? I don't think SLG is fielding a team. Yeah, okay, you're not playing this season. Okay. Probably could have asked you that on Discord, but that's okay. Anyways, let me check the rest of the brackets. So, 7 Rats beat Origin, which is very exciting. Oblivion swept Moon. Apex was able to beat Rejects. And then what else was there? Oh yeah, we just watched GG beat Metro. Okay, yeah, that was it. So in terms of the placements, our top 4 is actually going to be, well, our top 4, we have 7 Rats, Oblivion. I think these two are probably locked in. Well, I don't want to say Oblivion's locked in for top 4 since they haven't faced Origin or 7 Rats yet. I'm more than certain off of their performance. Well, we'll see how they do against Origin. Let's just say that. I'm excited to see how Oblivion stacks up against Origin, and I wonder if Origin are, this is a game 7. I wish I was watching this set, and I think 34 was probably streaming the set. So I'm definitely gonna check out that stream later tonight. But for now, I guess what time is it? 9:57. So we have about 7 minutes for a pub game. I'm not gonna lie, I had a close call yesterday's stream when I wanted to play some pubs. So maybe that's best not to. So I guess I could look at the maps and maybe just give a bit of analysis on who I think could win just off of the maps, just because I have a general good idea of, what maps Oblivion likes, what map Origin likes. Okay, Port Bay. I feel like Port Bay is a good map for both Oblivion and Origin. Like, as a Joker player, I hated facing, honestly, both teams on these maps. Just on Port Bay, at least, just because, like, I knew that they were good at Port Bay. And granted, like, Port Bay was an okay map for Joker. It was just, I don't like how small it is. There's a lot of crossfire that are just a lot of open, like, shots that you can, like, take. Just because of, like, the kind of the shape of the map. Vineyards, I am not a fan of Vineyards. I think Vineyards it just needs to be completely reworked as a map. In terms of, like, the spawn imbalances, I'd say Vineyards North spawn is an automatic loss. If the enemy team plays, like, as long as they don't hang a tank, 9 times out of 10, you're just going to lose on Vineyards North spawn. This is, like, in pubs and also in comp. Hellas, so I think Hellas is, like, it's a bit of a boring map in my opinion, just because like you could have like some weird slow play where both sides are kind of like matching each other on like the seaside, and then you do some weird rotation towards the town area, or you could just like meet each other on A B, and then it's a brawl, or it's like a push pass like on like A B, and you have to like try to like farm and suppress the or yeah, farm to push and then repush. I feel like it's very static. Like you can kind of tell how a game's gonna play out based off of like what's going on. Like rotations are very like static. Like it's the same rotation, same responses kind of on Hellas. Alpenstedt, I think Alpenstedt is probably okay. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I think Alpenstedt is one of Origin's strongest maps. So if this does go to tiebreak, I have a feeling that Origin's gonna win it. But if it doesn't go to tiebreak, I'm not sure. I feel like both of these teams. It's gonna sound very crazy, but I think it might go down to which team gets the good spawn of Hellas. So if like a team gets like the spawn of Hellas, that's I think it's is it yeah, it's North spawn. Yeah, so North spawn of Hellas, if you play towards the seaside, there's like this really overpowered pocket that you can kind of tuck in if you're getting overpushed on seaside. And I feel like if Origin decide to push Oblivion, like when Oblivion has like North spawn and Hellas, they're playing seaside, they have the OP pocket. It's not going to bode well for Origin. Reaction: Oblivion 4-0, Origin easy. Honestly, just the way that they're playing. Well, looking at the scoreboard right now, a 4-0 against Origin would be aura. Let's just say that they'd have 4-0s in a row if they go completely undefeated in the round robin. That is incredible work right there. Work ethic. Yo, hello, work ethic. If you behave today, if you do a good job today, you might make up for the lack of food from yesterday. All right, so do a good job, and Papa will pay you. All right. Anyways, room is up, so I will be readied up. Ooh, I should okay. I probably shouldn't have shown the lineup that early, but since I have a 3-minute delay on my stream and I joined just as the 3-minute like timer went down, I think it should be fine. I mean, I don't think I gave either team an unfair advantage. I'm certain that like some of the Oblivion guys are probably tuned into the stream, at least maybe on like a different device and like muted, but they're definitely locked in for this game. So hopefully they're not looking at my stream and trying to get an unfair advantage. All right, so in the meantime, I don't want to do like a strat sketch analysis, especially since there's only 2 minutes left. I'm just gonna ready up. Let's see what Oblivion has to offer on Port Bay. We see, I'd say this is probably their, is this their core 7? They got the Caller Ranger, they got Akame, they got Steve, Gruxup, Dizzy, Poffy, and Gent. This is a very strong 7 right here. This might actually be just their core right there. And then, ooh, we see a very interesting appearance of Criminal. I think this is probably the first game we've seen him debut in, at least for this tournament. So they're bringing out the big guns for Oblivion, and I'm all for that, right? I want to see some of the best players in the game duke it out and see who comes out on top. So let's see how this goes. Let's see how this goes. We see Steve and Dizzy both going to be playing RHM, which is a bit interesting. Main reason I say that is because I haven't really seen like Steve play like light tanks that much, but I guess he does play a bit more often in Oblivion. I'm just thinking historically, like Steve and like past like previous like teams. But on Oblivion, like something I really like about Oblivion is that they play very unique tanks. So they're not scared to whip out like you know, a crazy looking tank like an E4 or like something. Let me check through my garage. What's something crazy? Maybe like a KPZ. E4, I already said that. 50Ms maybe. Like they'll play pretty much anything they want. VZ55, they like VZ55, I think. All right, let's go. OBLVN versus Origin. We're gonna see the Origin team. Looks like they're gonna play towards the town side, actually, which is a bit interesting. So we're gonna see a Criminal in a T100 drive straight towards the A side, and we do see a lot of the OBLVN tanks are speed boosting towards the C side, so they look like they want to play for C. They look like they're immediately stepping C with Steve in the RHM. We do see Criminal in the T100 is gonna probably make a bit of a spotting run. He spots absolutely nothing. He's going to step A very early for Origin. So OBLVN going to be up on caps, but Origin are going to be following them very shortly. So I'd say the point differential is probably going to be like within a kill, I'd say. Currently point differential is 30 right now. And we see Rondelisha trying to kind of sneak his way onto the ship, but he's getting stuck a little bit. You good, Step Bro? So he's trying to wedge himself onto the ship, but I guess he doesn't realize that you need a bit of speed. Okay, never mind. He's gotten himself onto the ship. So Rondelisha, now that he's on the ship, he's kind of just going to sit here for the entirety of the game. And Criminal does put a decent shot towards the towards Gentleman the Kron. And I think Gentleman is probably spotted for 20, just considering the fact that he is just kind of lit up there. Or maybe the light tank can just keep him perma-spotted from just like where he's at right now. It does look like he is putting in shots, and he does get spotted by Dizzy, just like in the proximity. He does get shot once by Gentleman, which is a good shot. Well placed from Gentleman. Kame trying to put in a couple of shots to try to bleed out Rondelisha on the ship, and Rondelisha is eating a lot of shots right now. Akame putting in some really good shots, and Ranger also has a potential angle. Ranger, what angle have you cooked up today? It is like a tiny shot on like the very top roof of the 116. So OBLVN, they're already playing for very smart bleeds right now, and we do see a bit of a rotation from the side of Origin, and Group is able to spot it. He's probably going to try to back up the ramp that Ranger's at, and actually never mind, Group is not going to back up the ramp that Ranger's at. Instead, they're going to try to potentially hold this. I feel like Group could be playing a bit more consolidated, especially with Ranger, but he's actually going to look for the crossing. Cora on the crossing, trying to get to the corner, trying to contest even Steven in the corner. He's going to eat a massive 2 shells from Group. He puts 1 shot into return to Group, and Cora is getting nuked on this crossing. Steven trying to put in a shot, but Cora has just bled down to half his HP. He is going to be very hard for Steve to fight, but Steve still has, I'd say, priority in the corner. OBLVN are reinforcing a bit. They're sending Akame back into the deep corner, and I think OBLVN are just going to repush and just kill Apple Silicon, and shortly just kill Cora. Apple Silicon eating a lot of shots. He is down to 1,000 HP, and now we see Crit and Rob. They're backing up. They're scared, and Origin are in trouble. Origin are in deep trouble. These 116s on the side of OBLVN are going to climb up the ramp and shortly put shots into Cora. Steve is looking forward to the shots on Cora. Cora is a 1-shot. Cora is going to die to Steve. OBLVN are now putting the pedal on the metal right now. They are looking for shots on Rob. Gentleman eating a lot of shots from Yarrow as well as Gritton, but Yarrow is now fully clipped out. Apple Silicon is still eating shots. He is trying to just back up, but he's going to die to Steve. Steve picks up the kill. OBLVN, they have 6 tanks on C, ready to just pick up these kills on Crit and Rob. And we see Dizzy fighting a 2v1 against Criminal and Rondelisha. He is going to get shortly supported by Ranger, but I'm not sure if the rest of... Oh, it looks like Origin are actually trying to play for Castle, where they're sending Yarrow on to B, but I don't know if that's enough. Ranger putting a really good shot into Criminal. Criminal is now a one-shot for any of these heavy tanks. Yarrow getting shot up a bit. He's able to pick up the kill on Ranger. This is actually very close in terms of caps for both teams, but look at Oblivion. They're up 3,000 damage, 4,000 HP, and they're shortly going to pick up a kill on Rondelisha. Akami putting a very nice kill shot into the T100 of Criminal, and this was a dominant Oblivion performance. Origin tried to make a weird, Origin tried to rotate towards C, but Group was able to immediately spot it. He didn't get punished at all, and Oblivion immediately had punishment for the Origin play onto C, where Korra tried to go to the corner, but you just can't cross it, especially in a Kronvong. He got completely bombed to death by, I'd say, Ranger can shoot him, Group shot him as well, and then after that, Steve was just slowly working his magic, just putting in shot after shot to whittle down Korra until he's a one-shot. And then we saw the Oblivion tanks just go in for the immediate pressure. They knew that those Origin tanks, they backed off. Like Rob and Critton, they backed off. They gave complete ground for Oblivion to just drive in, get the kill on Korra, get the kill on Apple, and then they just move forwards. So, well played for Oblivion, just knowing when to hold, how to hold it. And Origin, they were just a bit in shambles. They tried to do a weird play where they just send one tank to an anchoring bait spot, and then all right, so it's just no, never mind. I'm not gonna explain what I found really funny. It's a bit stupid in my head, but Origin, they just decide to play onto C with, I'd say it was a very obvious a very, very obvious rotation for Origin to make, but they could have probably done it a bit better. I'm just not sure how in terms of the timing, or maybe they could have just played for B straight away. But Oblivion was doing a good job. They knew their angles. They were punishing Rondelisha at the ship, and usually when you get a tank on the ship, they're just gonna sit there. They're gonna be there the entire game. They're not really gonna be able to get punished. But Oblivion knew their angles. Rondelisha was getting bled by Kami, who's getting potentially bled by Ranger if Ranger had a bit better RNG. So now we're going to see game 2. We see very light lineups from both sides, actually, with Oblivion running double RHMs and Akaro, which is rather interesting. We see Rondelisha, or not Rondelisha, we see Origin also running a rather light lineup where we have Criminal and Korra rocking the T100 and the Vickers Light. And we're going to see both teams are going to duke it out on the C side, but I would argue with the double RHMs running the speed boost on the side of Oblivion, they're going to have priority of getting into the corner, and Akami and the Karo could potentially see himself get completely crossfired. He is spotted on the crossing. He does eat one shot. Do these Krons shoot him out? These Krons are lined up to just absolutely bomb. They don't get the shots in time. And we do see immediate punish onto the Origin Light Tanks. Korra is already down to a 2-shot. Criminal trying to do his best to try to HP share a bit, but Oblivion, their heavies have already gone into the seaside, and I feel like Oblivion, they're probably anticipating that Origin are doing a weird heavy flank, because they've played Origin a lot before, and these light tanks are going to lose this brawl in the corner of the map. It's only a matter of time, and Akami sees Rondelisha. Oblivion now knows that there is a heavy tank that's flanking behind. They need to take initiative. They either need to kill the light tanks, or they just need to push these heavies. And I think the call is push these heavies. Ranger is going in. He's getting completely bombed right now, but his teammates are not really capitalizing on it. Oblivion have just completely hung, I'd argue, 2 tanks by now. And even though they've won the corner, they've just let Ranger just to run, and Origin are probably in a good position to win this game. Poppy Loopy missing a shot on Call Me Daddy. Alright, so the 2 light tanks on Oblivion, they are just both one-shots. They're kind of stuck here. While on the other side, Oblivion, their heavies, they were not together. They were not playing together. They were not listening to the call. Ranger's call was 100% in that moment. Push the heavies, push the heavies. But they just weren't consolidated together. Ranger initiated the push, thinking he had his teammates had his back, but I guess not. So, a little bit unfortunate from that front, but this game still isn't over. It's 3v3, but just looking at the HP differential, Dizzy is going to be a very annoying light tank in the corner, but he can't peek because he's a one-shot, and he needs to play very careful. Rondelisha just backing up, not really giving him anything. And Gentleman put down to 1 HP with a damaged Amarek, damaged turret, damaged gunner. This is painful if you are a Gentleman. He's probably just going to get HE to death by Crichton. So, yeah. But, interestingly, Paffilupi up on top of this position right here. I feel like right now, Origin, all they have to do is just play slow, go for an angle on Dizzy. But, yeah, okay, Origin, they have to go for an angle on Dizzy. This is actually still winnable for Origin, actually. Oh, no, not Origin, Oblivion, actually. Just looking at how Dizzy is playing. All these tanks, they have to hide from Dizzy because this is an insane crossfire that both Paffilupi and Dizzy have said. Dizzy putting in a really good shot into Rondelisha. Paffilupi, can he look for potential? Oh my god, Dizzy's game sense is incredible. He knows exactly where these Origin tanks are. He's putting in shot after shot after shot. Crichton missing the light tank, and slowly but surely, these Origin tanks are going to try to box Dizzy. Rondelisha peeking from the very top. Is he going to be able to put shots into Dizzy? He is spotted right now. Is Paffilupi able to put in some shots? No, Crichton's actually going to try to suppress Paffilupi. And now we see Rondelisha is going to drive into the corner and try to bomb Dizzy. But Yarrow and Crichton setting up a very nice crossfire. Very well played from Origin, getting these angles to counter Paffilupi. I thought this was potentially winnable for Oblivion, but I guess Origin immediately knew to counter angle in order to punish Paffilupi. So now we're going to see Dizzy versus the world, which is unfortunate. So I would say here, these Oblivion light tanks, I have to say, they sold, I would say. If they got the 2 kills on Criminal and Korra, they would have been able to just completely farm out the heavies and just assist the Oblivion heavies who were, I'd say, a little bit hesitant to make the push. Those Oblivion heavies, they needed to push because as soon as Decaro started getting farmed by Rondelisha, who did the town flank, Oblivion, they needed to take the tank advantage that they or it was like a 4v4. So it was a 4v4 on the seaside for the heavies, but I do feel like if the Oblivion light tanks were able to get the kills in the corner, they would have been able to just assist with facilitating that push essentially, because Origin, their heavies would have been bled by the light tanks in the corner, and then Oblivion's heavies would be, more inclined to actually, commit to the push and actually go in. And we're gonna see tie game so far, or tie set so far, 1-1. Oblivion rocking several concepts, which tells me that they're probably going to be playing at least towards the middle, or maybe driving past and going on to playing up on A. But I'm curious to see what exactly Korra has planned for all these Krons. He has 4 Krons and a T100, and interesting choice where they're still rocking a T100 over, say, an RHM or a Vickers. So let's see what they can do here. And granted, Origin are on the bad spawn of Vineyard, so let's see if they're able to cook something up.
Time to roll out.
Alright, so we're gonna see Dizzy probably go for a bit of a spot unless he's driving straight into B. Okay, he's just going to drive straight into B. He does light up quite a few tanks on the Oblivion team. He lights up about 4 tanks. He gets a really good shot into Crichton, which is pretty good. These Oblivion tanks look like they were trying to go for resets on A, but unfortunately Criminal is capping the right bush, which is very smart. I'm not sure if Oblivion are going to blind fire into it. They are not going to blind fire into the right side of the bush. And we see Cap Advantage go for Oblivion, but it's just barely a tick. This is very close in terms of the caps. And we'd see lots of shots just flying around, but Origin, they're going to grab C with Yarrow very shortly, and Origin are going to be up on caps and they're on the bad spawn of Vineyard. So I wonder if Oblivion are going to try to take a bit of initiative and maybe play for a kill on A, or maybe play for an isolation on Rob, because I would argue that Rob is in a bit of a precarious position, because if he's not supported particularly well, he could get bombed to death. But it looks like Ranger gets suppressed by Yar, who's playing like the far seaside. So Origin are well positioned to kind of cover Rob, at least from Ranger. But if Oblivion decide to do it like a push down low, Rob is in a lot of trouble. And slowly but surely, I think Oblivion, they need to make a play. They do look like they're going to go for a bit of an isolation. Maybe on Rob. I'm not sure if Gentleman is looking for Rob. They are looking for Rob. Rob is going to be the isolated, or the isolation. He is going to be the focus fire target for Oblivion. Oblivion are working a bit of angles right now on Rob. Even Steven looks like he wants to put a shot to Rob, but I feel like they should just push underneath right now. Just send it underneath. Just go for Rob, but it doesn't look like they're doing that right now. They're slowly bleeding out Origin, slowly but surely, and Archangel is now down to 1000 HP, Rob down to 1000 HP, and this is only a matter of time before the caps tick up in Oblivion. They have to make a play. Ranger getting hit by Rob. Rob is going to probably clip out Ranger. Ranger is now a two-shot, and now we see group go forward to pick up on Rob. This group pick up Rob. He does pick up Rob, which is very good, but now Oblivion, they have to make a play onto A, stop the A base while also playing for the kills in the spawn of Oblivion. Go for Rondelisha, go for Archangel. On the other side of things, we see Poppy Loopy kind of YOLOing into a 2v1 on the C side, which I don't think was necessarily the best play. He could have played a bit more passive on that side, but we do see Oblivion are in the ascendancy. They're going to pick up a lot of kills, but unfortunately, Ranger dies on the A base. Well-placed shot from the Kronfong, and we see Dizzy is stopping A, so Oblivion are going to be up on kills, up on caps very shortly, but again, these caps are very close. Looks like Yaro is going to try to maybe make a play onto the B cap just to improve the cap differential for Origin, but Oblivion, they're working fast. They smell the kill on Korra. They have 3 tanks kind of trying to wrap themselves around Korra right now. Group is going to dump a massive clip into Korra. Yaro is getting completely bombed on the B-Cup. Yaro gets bombed to death. Korra gets bombed to death. Criminal are the last 2 alive. This is Oblivion's game. They played this wonderfully. I thought they were going to go for the immediate pressure and just get the kill on Rob at that position, but they bided their time, and I thought that was actually pretty smart in hindsight, because they were able to bleed out Archangel. They were able to bleed, like, Rob down to 1000 HP, and eventually they bled him down to a one-shot, which then facilitated Group to just drive underneath, put in one shot, not bleed too much for it, and then proceed with the push towards the Origin spawn. So, well played, well played. And Rondelisha doing 143 damage in the Kronvong, which is unfortunate to see. This guy's a lot of a better player than, that damage score might show, but I'm surprised he was only able to do 143 damage. Just looking at the damage spread on both teams, a lot of low damage, especially on Origin, but Oblivion, the only low damage tank was Poppy Loopy, but Poppy Loopy just suicided onto C side. Maybe it was necessary in terms of distracting the guys on C, but I definitely think he could have played it a lot better than how he played it. So we're going to go on to match number 4. Oblivion 2-1 up against Origin, and we're seeing the classic Origin quintuple. Are we going to see 6 crons? Please, are we going to see 6 crons on this map? We're seeing 6 crons. Are we going to see 7 crons? Are we going to see 7 crons on Vineyards from Origin? We're seeing 7 crons from Origin. Oh my goodness. This is going to be a very fun matchup to watch, because Origin, they're going to maximize these Kron's potentials in terms of just like holding positions, holding angles, and just looking for ways to break down whatever Oblivion has, like, set up. Assuming Origin has to like try to break down an Oblivion hold. But looks like Criminal swaps at the very last moment to a T100, so unfortunately the 7 Kron dream could not be But 6 Crons is still nasty, though. That is a crazy lineup. Alright, we're gonna see Oblivion this time on the bad spawn of Vineyards. Let's see if they're able to cook something up in terms of potentially getting a win, forcing a 3-1 lead. And it looks like Dizzy is going to go for a bit of a spotting run, potentially underneath. Maybe they're looking for a bit of a shootout, especially if these like triple clippers are just sitting in the riverbed right now. And I do think if Dizzy just bides his time, just waits a little bit, Rob is going to get completely bombed out of existence. Rob is crossing in front of all these tanks. He is tracked in the open, minus 1600. Archangel is next up on the list. Archangel gets completely bombed. He is burning. He is burning. He is just completely sitting duck right now. Archangel Rob just lost all their HP. Ranger is able to get to this rock position, and he is perfectly fine. Oblivion are in the ascendancy right now. They are basically just killed 2 tanks, I would argue. Archangel is not going to be able to do anything. Rob is not going to be able to do anything. Oblivion, as long as they just bide their time, just reposition, try to play for better angles, they will just absolutely use this HP differential that they've built up in this initial opening play and just completely box Origin. Origin right now, they have to be scared. They have, well, I would argue Ranger, he just needs to not die. Don't bleed any more shots, Ranger buddy, to this T100. As long as you just survive, conserve your HP, you will win this game. Let the rest of your team, let Poppy Loopy, let Dizzy play for the seaside of the map. Let them open up an opportunity for you guys. Cora is spotted going to the ruins. I feel like the play on Ranger is telegraphed, and I'm not sure if Ranger, play safe. Ranger, play safe. Ranger is getting bumped. Ranger is dead. But even with Ranger dead, I feel like Oblivion are still in a fine position to win this game as long as they're able to just receive this origin push that is going to happen very shortly. Rondelisha and Yarrow do look like they're going to maybe go for shots on Gentleman, but fortunately for Gentleman, he is able to get out relatively unscathed, and we see Cora is eating a lot of damage. I don't think Origin's play is going to be on to A. They have to play for C, and Poppy Loopy is playing very far up. He's going to meet Critton. He bluffs his first shot on Critton, but he's shortly going to get reinforced by Criminal. Critton and Criminal are going to go for the pick on Poppy Loopy, and I think Origin are going to find a way to win this game because Poppy Loopy has just basically hung his tank. Dizzy is trying to come in to try to intercept, but it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be in time because Poppy Loopy is just going to die here. Poppy Loopy just needs to dump his clip into this Kronvong. Poppy Loopy, just pen all your shots. As long as you just pen all your shots, you should be fine. He does pen all his shots, which is really good. And now Dizzy is going to go in and intercept the light and get him off of Poppy Loopy. Dizzy doing a really good job at just getting Criminal off of Poppy Loopy. We do see Ron Felicia is spotted driving towards the town brawl, and Group is probably screaming at his teammates in town to try to get out of the crossfire from Ron Felicia, but Poppy Loopy is probably going to eat a massive clip from Rondelisha, and on the other side we see Archangel and Rob finally go down to Akami and Steve, and Oblivion are in the ascendancy. Oblivion with a major opening game replay at the start of the game, just completely nuking 2 tanks to 1 shot and 3 shots respectively. It looks very scary, especially with Ranger getting completely bombed into positioning that he was, and Poppy Loopy kind of overextending in the position that he was, but fortunately, Poppy Loopy was able to track the Kronvong at the corner and just keep his tank alive, because if Poppy Loopy died there without Dizzy coming in to kind of rescue him, it would have been so bad for Oblivion, because Origin would have had a light tank and a Kronvong both alive, just able to win that flank of the game. And on the other side of things, they wouldn't have to do anything for Origin. Origin would just have to hold the runes and force Oblivion to, push into them. And very unfortunate from Archangel. I think you need a hug right now. I'm going to give you a heart right now. You need a hug. And we're going to see Oblivion on the north spawn of Hellas. So, this is interesting. So, just checking up on the YouTube chat. Whoa, a lot of chatting going on. Blame it on set. What's up? I see you're typing quite a bit. Origin using a light to quick cap A and losing cap lead. Well, to be fair, He didn't drive straight to the cap. He did a spotting, then went to the cap. If you're talking about game 1 Port Bay. And then, even if Origin had cap lead, Origin can take ramp and spot and prevent crossing back into spawn. Take ramp. That's a bit of an overextension in my opinion. And I do agree, they could boost their ramp, right? But I think you underestimate a lot of the visibility from light tanks. Pushing C normally by sending a guy to corner and 3 C doesn't work. Yeah, I agree with that. We literally saw it not work. And Karo is questionable. I agree. I think the Karo is questionable just because it's fat and slow, and Akame did get nuked on the crossing, so he wasn't really effective that game. What happened to Origin? Well, this isn't their main roster. It's just like it's most of their comp players, I'd say. Like Korra, Rob, Muxfee, Krim, and Archangel. Those guys are comp players, and then it's just like I guess, I mean, Yaro's also a comp player. He's just a Joker player, not an Origin player. But I guess for this season, he's an Origin player. Critton, not a comp player, but he's played with Origin before in like arena tournament and stuff like that. Anyways, we are gonna see Origin go for C from the south spawn, but Oblivion are also sending some tanks towards the seaside. So Akame is going to be playing this bait spot that or close to the bait spot that I was talking about, where you can kind of just like chill inside of like this pocket here if you're being overpushed on the seaside, and it's just pretty overpowered. Archangel already bleeding several shots from, I believe it was maybe the Kron Gentleman and maybe Puffy Loopy, maybe. But it was probably, oh no, it was Dizzy and Gentleman. So Oblivion already up on the cap lead. Ranger is able to cap B, and just off of this Oblivion setup that they have triple Krons just sitting on this balcony, ready to just punish anything that tries to step onto C. And I don't think it's going to be very possible for Origin to even step C at all, because this Archangel guy is going to get completely bombed to death. And we do see a very good shot from Criminal into Akame. So Akame does bleed just a little bit, but he gets, I'd say, some decent info for his team. They know at least one Kron is matching him on the other side. But if you are Origin, you got to play for something. You can't let this cap deficit get larger and larger. It's already 150 points. That's more than 2 kills. And Archangel tries to step onto C, but he gets completely bombed. Gentleman and Dizzy putting in some very good shots, and Origin are doing absolutely nothing to suppress the balcony over here. These two Krons are just peeking for free, putting in shots for free on Archangel. And I think by now, Origin knows that if they do absolutely nothing, this cap differential is going to get larger and larger, and if they try to push Akame and group, there is a massive concept. This double Kron, Gentleman and Dizzy are able to just cover Group and Akame if Origin decide to overpush, and I know that that's not their plan, and now, only now are they stepping onto A. The point differentials are almost, it's going to hit almost 300 points by the time that Rondelisha is able to cap the A base. It is a 290 point difference in terms of caps. Origin are just very scared to make moves right now. And I have a feeling Origin are going to try to just push on C, despite Oblivion having the overpowered positions. But it looks like Oblivion are actually going to be the ones moving up towards C. And like, I think Ranger smells blood in the water. He wants to potentially go for, a pick on Archangel, but it looks like he's just putting a bit more pressure because, he's like, oh, Origin are playing scared. I'm just going to take the map from him. I'm going to take the caps from you. Yeah, you like our 290 point cap differential? Let's make it even more. And Archangel still bleeding more and more shots. Well-placed shots from Gentleman, just killing up on the balcony, and Archangel is a one-shot. Ranger picks up the kill. We see the push from the Kronvongs on the top side by Origin, but it's not going to be a very good push at all. These guys are just going to get completely bombed because Oblivion, all they had to do is just back up to this corner, like exactly what I was talking about. They just back into this corner, and Oblivion are safe. Puffy Loopy looks like he wants to try to receive the run of the push. Ranger Buddy kind of just pushing him from behind, and Prim is getting completely bombed. He's tracked, he's perma-tracked, and he is going to die. Oblivion are going to win this game. All they had to do is just repush with all the tanks that they have, reload their clips and repush, and they will win this game. On the other side of things, we see even Steven Dizzy going for a 2v1 on Rondelicia. Gentleman going for a bit of focus on Yarrow. He's putting in some good HE shots. Oblivion, 3000 HP up, 960 points. They need one kill and they win. Cora is going to be the focus fire target. It looks like Oblivion pick up Rondelicia on the other side before Cora can fall, and that is a 4-1 victory for Oblivion. Well played to these boys. Well played to Oblivion. Archangel, no! No, it was already bad enough that he did 0 in one game, but he did 0 in another game. Oh no, no! Okay. It's okay. I'll give you another heart. It's okay. And I gotta give hearts to Dizzy and Gentleman, kind of like the MVPs in the last game for Oblivion. Actually, I'm gonna give hearts to all of Oblivion. They've demonstrated a very strong performance for um uh, this season so far, especially in this top 8. So I think, or my personal prediction for grand finals, it was Oblivion versus Origin. I just didn't know who'd be on top, and just seeing how both teams played, I think Oblivion are definitely the #1 seed, or definitely like the most likely to win this tournament by far. Just look at their performance. They've only dropped a single game so far to Origin, who is arguably the second best team in this entire tournament. So kind of wild, I have to say. And tomorrow, I want to stream Oblivion. I haven't finalized my streaming, like the teams I want to stream, but I think Oblivion 7 Rats would be really good to stream. I also I want to stream each team at least once, and the teams I have not streamed yet are Rejects and Moon. So I do actually want to watch, those teams at least once in the top 8 stage, just to give, every team um some time to shine on my stream. But other than that, I have to say, well played to the Oblivion boys. You guys definitely played very well tonight. You guys deserved it. And then I just wanted to check the chat. Um just talking about, I guess, strats and roster. Mirko is Nala. Okay. I don't really know who Nala is, so 34 in here. Oh, GG Moon was a snooze. GG 4-0. Unfortunate. Roller coaster of our 4th round. Yeah, for sure. It was just like Oblivion had a really good opener, and then Ranger, unfortunately, just literally all Ranger had to do was sit still that game. He just had to sit still, and he would have been fine. If he did not move, like, he would have been fine, but he decided to move his joystick and just get bombed out of existence. So, I do want to do a strat sketch analysis of these games. It's just going to be little bit of time spent. So, I think this game was for Oblivion. They had light tank. They had, I think it was like triple crons here. They had a guy here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they had a 7th guy. I forget exactly where he was. I'm just gonna slap him somewhere in town because I think that's where he was. Just somewhere in town. And Origin, on the other hand, what they had was something like it was a light tank fast capping. They sent a guy here. They had a guy at B reset. I forget exactly where the rest were, but let's just draw the repush, shall we? So I think the light tank was probably, I don't remember if he played C at all. I think he was roaming, but basically the what happened was Oblivion, the way they were set up is they had tank like this. I think this is kind of how Oblivion was set up. So they had a tank, one on each balcony. So if Oblivion, or if Origin really wanted to, even if they tried to boost, they would get spotted and bombed from this guy. So I think there was somebody in my chat asking why didn't Origin try to do a boost or something. That's why. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like the heavy tank. The light tank can even just like start bombing like the guy boosting. And also, I'd say this guy also has shots as well. That's a pretty easy angle, I'd say. At least like towards the left side. As soon as you start hugging this hill, the shot for this dude becomes less possible. And then this guy can even just drive up and just like farm this if you so desire. But I still feel like you could actually farm it from here. I think there's probably an angle here. You'd have to just look through it in a training room. But boosting, especially when the enemy team has a cron on the balcony, you're gonna get proxy spotted. Is not gonna be a good day for whoever's like pushing or pushing other tanks up. So well, oh yeah, what happened? Yeah, with the push. So I'm just gonna let the light tank kind of roam, like the Origin light tank roam around. So Origin tried to push like this. Why is this not green? Turn green. Okay, they tried to do something like this. Yeah, something like this. And Oblivion, they had this setup. So Oblivion just got nukes on Korra trying to recross the corner. Korra was basically completely alone, got bombed to death. And then this lone heavy over here just also got bombed to death because Origin then or not Origin, Oblivion. These two names, these two O like clan names, like team names, it's hard to like talk really fast with of those two flying around. But Oblivion, they rotated a bunch of heavies. They killed basically two tanks for free, and they forced Origin to just try to play for town, try to play some weird cap game, and try to potentially win the game. But it was too little, too late. Yeah, they basically the repush on C is just not possible. The only way for maybe Origin to have like a fighting chance is to probably make some weird play onto B, but even then it's really hard because this guy right here, the heavy who's in town for Oblivion, was constantly denied B. So I think off of just like the strat that Origin ran and the rotation they took, they were not in a position to win the game. They did not really have options this game, I'd say. They were bleeding, like, pretty much everywhere. The light tank ate a couple shots. The tank at the ship who this is generally supposed to be a safe position, but Oblivion did their homework. They knew exactly how to punish this guy, which is really smart. And then they caught the repush, they immediately bombed this guy, and then it was just over for them. And then for the others spawn, this game was a bit weird in my opinion. I feel like Oblivion got a bit too um experimental with the lineup because they ran a Caro who I'll be honest. Let's see how Akame did in the Port Bay game. I mean, he put in a clip. I guess that's okay. But so the Caro was kind of just stuck here. Then for most of the game, he then had to rotate out to try to fight the tank, the one tank who flanked. But this was the Oblivion setup, if I remember. Boom, 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 boom. Just like four heavies here, three going to the corner. And Origin ran something kind of similar in terms of like, sending some tanks to the corner in terms of presence. But the thing that won Origin the game, in my opinion, is the fact that they were able to keep these two light tanks alive for such a long time while also bleeding out the two Oblivion light tanks who were over here. And then they also had immediate pressure in terms of having, you know, a heavy tank just crawl up the rear of Oblivion. If Oblivion maybe had, say, one single tank just kind of sitting in the back to intercept this flanking heavy, Oblivion probably would have won this game, in my opinion, because this heavy will not be able to kill this Caro, which means this Caro could potentially make a play where he could try to just wrap and maybe pick up kills here and just play for like the rest of the Oblivion or the Origin heavies. But unfortunately, for Oblivion, they had all four heavies here. This one Kron flanking was able to put in a nasty angle into Karo. He forced Karo to, run out, be very ineffective. And this prompted an Oblivion response where they try to push in, right, and try to pick up some kills here. Wait, I'm missing a tank. There's another red tank here. I'm blind. Anyways, so Ranger, I'm almost certain Ranger made this call. He's like, guys, we need to push the heavies. There's one guy behind us right now. We have to push. We have to push. But unfortunately, he led the charge, but the team wasn't with him. They were disconnected from each other, and Ranger just killed himself, basically, just hung his tank for free. And shortly after, Dakaro died. And then I believe there was an exchange of light tanks like this, but then it ended up being something like this where just, heavies being traded, and then it was a 3v2 scenario, but Oblivion played a really beautiful, like, I'd say a beautiful endgame in terms of working angles, and Dizzy with really good game sense knew exactly when Crinton was like climbing here, and also when Rondelisha was like trying to like run this way. So good game sense from Dizzy, but Origin, man, they know their angles so well. They sent Crinton over here to try to pressure Poffy off, and they sent, I think it was Yarrow here to also try to put pressure into Poffy, while also sending Rondelisha to the very far ramp on this side in order to, hunt the light tank, because the only way to counter this guy is by having this guy on the balcony shoot back. So to say, if Yarrow and Crinton weren't in their positions, like say they were like this, right? Poffy has all of the opportunity or all the priority in the world to just put shots into Rondelisha and just suppress that level of crossfire. So I think Origin played a beautiful endgame here in terms of working the angles in order to counter Poffy Loopy on the balcony, because Dizzy, right? He's a one shot. This guy, sure, he can farm, but he's not the main danger. The main danger is this heavy tank who can basically enable this light tank to be so much more powerful than he should be, because the light tank's a one shot. All you need to just get one lucky penetration and he's dead, gone. So Poffy Loopy needed to be the one to go. And so they went for Poffy first. They got him killed, and then they worked their magic on Dizzy. So that was a really good game from them. And then for Vineyards, Oblivion, they ran, it was one guy, oh, wrong color. They ran a guy here. They ran a light tank here. They ran, I think it was concept 116. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't remember. Oh yeah, it was like, I'm just gonna put down the tanks where like they kind of were like during the main action, because I just don't remember the initial strat too well enough. Because vineyard strats are pretty simple. You cap your close cap, and then you flex around the map. Either get more info, play for kills, or try to play for a cap on C or deny C. So in terms of what a, what Origin was playing, they have a guy on this ramp, and I've said this before, not just like during this stream, but during my older player POV streams. I am not a fan of this spot at all, and sometimes because of how bad North Spawn is, you are forced to play the spot just to get, you know just as an opening position, but I don't think it's ever worth to stay in this position, because you are just a massive liability. You are a free kill effectively for any good team. And Oblivion demonstrated this today. They slowly worked an angle on if they slowly worked an angle on to sorry, let me rephrase this. They slowly worked their angles, got the kill on Rob by bleeding him down to a one shot, and then they sent group underneath to kill him. What was the rest of the tank setup? They had, it was a guy here. They had guys like back here for some reason, just kind of playing weird. And then they had two heavies, I believe, on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. And then they had a light tank kind of flexing in the back. I'm just gonna put them like here at the towards like the entrance of town. So Oblivion, they worked their magic. They got really good shots on Rob, and then they bled him down. And once he was dead, they were also bleeding out. Or sorry, before Rob even died, they were also looking for shots on these guys in Spawn, which I thought was weird because typically, like, these Origin players, they should know better. Like, it was, um, it was Archangel and I think Rondelisha, right? Like, both of those guys have played seasons before with Origin, so they should know better than to just sit in the open. Like, you gotta play for, like, these houses for cover where you can still get good shots and spot A cap, but you're also safe from a lot of the crossfire. You have to force, Oblivion to make a push across the open field for you, and even then, like, they just don't get these kills. So either way, I just feel like Origin just got boxed in. They lost Rob for free, basically. They lost Archangel, and then something weird that I saw from Oblivion was Puffy Loopy played really aggressive. Like he was all the way up, I think, to here, and I think he was trying to tie up these two Origin tanks, which makes sense. But if you want to tie up the Origin tanks, like you gotta like buy a lot of time, but I don't think Puffy bought a lot of time. He kind of died very fast. But either way, tying up two tanks on this side means that there's effectively like a was it a 6v3 advantage? I don't think in the actual game it was 6v3. It was probably more like a 5v3 because I think Ranger he stepped on A base, got deleted, typical Ranger activity, and just got, just kind of equalized or low traded out his tank for, another one of Origins. So it was probably just like probably 4v2 at most, I'd say, or 4v3 in this region. So either way, I think just north spawn of vineyards, it needs to get fixed. It needs to get reworked because playing on this side is just not fun at all. But speaking of playing on this side, the Oblivion strategy where they had their light tank just spawning down the river, spawning like this. They had heavy. I forget exact positions, but let's just say they're all sitting here and they're just pre-aiming down like below the bridge. Maybe they're like aiming like further as well, but they got a massive shootout on um they got a massive shootout on Origin. Archangel got caught lacking. Archangel and Rob got bombed here, bro. So boom, boom, two bombs right there, and they were ineffective. If I take a look, I'm gonna shortly switch back to my PC Blitz. So Rob and Archangel did a combined one shot of damage together. So that's okay. That's okay. It's just like the fact that they got bombed at the start kind of made their guns ineffective for the rest of the game, which is understandable. So Oblivion, great opening play, and they interestingly sent Ranger to this position right here by the rock. And this is a very strong position to take. It's just that Ranger was bleeding here. If you're gonna be at this rock, you have to just sit still, basically. You cannot move as soon as you get to this rock. I've played this position before, and when you are being pre-aimed from like 10 bajillion different angles, like Origin had like tanks, like let me see, like they had guys like I know there's a light tank here. Let me just change one of them to a light tank. The ruins. There's a light tank there. I think the two bombed tanks were trying to play towards like here. Just try to play safe. And then oops. Where were the other tanks? Oh yeah, there was like I think there was an Origin tank over here as well. I'm not sure if he had shots at all, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There should be a seventh tank. Where would the seventh tank be? Let's just stick him here for now. Yeah. Okay. So it's a very small shot, but Ranger gave it to them, and they punished him for this. They absolutely punished him for this. Like he was already bled going into the spot, I believe, which is okay. That's totally fine because especially since you're trading a lot of damage, for a bit of damage, but you take an advanced position. But him dying there was no bueno. And something else that I saw that was kind of diabolical, in my opinion, was the fact that Poffy kind of drove really aggressive on Seaside, and unfortunately, Dizzy was far out on this side of the map. He was spotting down this lane for, for Oblivion, because they were getting some really effective shots. Because after Ranger died, Korra took a bit of a map to try to, like, probe a bit, get a bit of information for, his team, and he was being suppressed by the, light tank, so Dizzy and I think it was Steve were putting in some really good suppressing fire down this way, and at the same time, Poffy was, like, somewhere around here in town, and he just drove all the way. He meets Crinton, I think it was, and thankfully for Poffy, um, well, before I get to that, Light Tank is already on the side of Origin, is already playing, very, very close to his teammate. They take an immediate 2v1, but thankfully Poffy is able to get to this position where he's just side scraping. He's just side scraping, and this Kron, he cannot pen the Felice in the side scrape. The Felice, Poffy was able to permatrack the Kron at this position, while Dizzy was able to swing all the way from Oblivion spawn effectively, all the way into deep, like, Origin's side of town. He puts in a good shot into I think it was Critton. Poffy kills him, and then Dizzy is able to chase off the light tank from um uh from Poffy, and I think this small interaction alone saved the game, the entirety of the game. Even though the majority of the tanks fighting were on, like, the upper portion of the map, like this portion of the map that's, like, I'm highlighting right now. I feel like this single micro interaction would have absolutely just absolutely changed the outcome of the game, because if Poffy died, right, that means that Origin would be 7v5, despite having two tanks who are effectively, like, out of the game from the initial opener. So Oblivion would have just basically thrown away their entire advantage, which I argue they threw away their advantage when Ranger died. And Poffy going in to, like, kind of play super aggressive and almost dying, in the process, I feel like that could have given Origin a bailout effectively, because um, Origin or Oblivion at that point would have had to try to make a play on Korra, who would have been just, safe, like, just chilling at the ruins. All he has to do is just sit, just sit here, and he's fine. So they would have had to make a bit of a desperate play going into the ruins, get crossfired by these crons, these angles, mainly this angle. And then these crons could also support as well. And if Oblivion tried to do, like, river play as well, again, these crons, this guy in the ruins, it's gonna be tough for Oblivion to try to repush into the ruins. So I feel like just this town engagement 100% dictated the outcome of the game, despite the crazy opener from Oblivion. And the last game, I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not sure what Origin was doing this game. They took so long to cap A. Oblivion grabbed A very quickly, and by the time they reached 590 points, only then was Origin able to cap a base. But by then, it was just way too late. Origin was down 290 points of cap. That's that's more than, like, that's like 4 kills worth of, like, a point differential, assuming that your team gains 40 points, the enemy team loses 40 points, right? For a kill. So Origin just kind of shot themselves in the foot in terms of not playing for a cap. They were just probably stunned from the last game where they just got completely bombed. And I'll say this again. I thought I predicted this, like, even well before the set began. I was talking about this earlier, but I said if Oblivion are going to play on North Spawn and they have access to this pocket right here, which they did use, and if Origin is going to try to push them from top of C, they're going to lose. And that's exactly what happened. They lost. And I don't have access to, like, the Origin strats or, like, the Oblivion strats. I'm just a streamer, right? And I still predicted this outcome, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like, the fact that they did exactly what I don't know, man. It's just some goofy stuff going on. I hope that Origin are able to lock in for the sets that do matter, because at the end of the day, this is just top 8. Top 4 and, like, grand finals, that's where, these sets do actually matter in terms of, or where these games actually do matter in terms of deciding the outcome of the set. So if you're an Origin player watching my stream, don't feel too discouraged. You guys can lock in. and then, prove the haters wrong when it matters, especially, in the stage that truly matters, which is the top 4 stage. And I'm more than certain y'all should be able to reach the top 4 stage with the way that you guys are playing. Other than that, um, I am I'm beat. I'm kind of tired. Let's check out the rest of the sets actually. So 7 Reds looks like they went to tiebreak against Rejects. Kind of surprising, actually. Maybe, maybe this is a bad set of maps, or maybe Rejects is a good matchup against 7 Rats. But I would have anticipated, like, considering their performance against Origin as well as their performance against Apex, they would have just like steamrolled Rejects because Rejects have lost pretty much every single set so far. I mean, they played a lot better on day 2 than they did on day 1, but still. But I have to say, this is a really tough initial set of matches. OBLVN, best team in the entire bracket. GG, GG is turning out to be a wild card, which I find interesting. I think GG versus Apex may actually decide the 4th place seed, in my opinion. Actually, no, they already played. Never mind. I'm talking out of my ass right now. All right. So 7 Rats won. OBLVN, we know, won. Apex 4-0 Metro. I expected that. And GG. Who did GG face? They faced Moon? Yeah, they faced Moon. That's a 4-0. Okay. So, I am beat. I want to go to bed. Well, before I go to bed, I do want to check out the 34 stream just to check up on that 7 Rats versus Origin set that went to tiebreak. I think that's probably going to be a good set to watch over dinner. So, I hope y'all had a good time enjoying my stream. I hope if y'all have any questions for me or any suggestions, feel free, just like leave them in the comments or to like the live YouTube chat. But other than that, I will see y'all on Saturday. Tomorrow there will be no streamed games because there's like a day break in between the top 8 if I remember correctly. Let me just double check everything real quick. Let me double check. The 21st. Yep. So tomorrow there will be no stream. The next stream will be on